It's very nice to see you all here tonight. The meeting will be recorded and it will be available on vote.je if you go to that site on your computer where you can get all the hustings. I'm very pleased to introduce the three candidates. We have Maureen Morgan, Kevin Lewis and Louise Doublet. And they will speak in that order. The outline of the evening is they will speak for 5 minutes, putting themselves and their policies forward. You'll be invited to ask questions, and unlike the senatorials, it'll be one question at a time. And they'll have about 2 minutes to answer the questions. And we'll just basically carry on, not forever, it's not like a states debate. We'll carry on till a maximum of 9:30. But it depends on the nature of the questions. Sometimes we can get through them fairly efficiently. Other times, if you have a lot of questions and they're very different, it may take more time. And then at the end of the proceedings, they'll just have 1 minute just to sum themselves up and say, this is what I'm about, and will you please vote for me? Okay, that's the procedure, so I'll ask Maureen if she'd kindly kick off.
Thank you. Can I check my microphone is working okay? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maureen Morgan, and I hope tonight to persuade you that I will be an excellent deputy for the Vantain to Soon-the-Glees and an effective member of the States of Jersey. I'm often asked on the doorstep why I'm standing. It is because I am passionate about the future of Jersey and of our parish, and I'm tired of watching our current States Assembly wasting our time and money on infighting and useless attempts at states reform. I'm tired of the real issues being ignored. What we all want is an improved health service with a huge reduction in waiting lists, a fit-for-purpose mental health service which responds quickly to urgent cases, subsidised dental and optical care, and a bigger subsidy for GP visits, a single-site hospital. We want a vibrant economy and diverse industries to give us full employment in secure, fairly paid jobs. We want our environment to be respected, a guarantee of absolutely no fracking in Jersey, preservation of green spaces wherever possible, and absolutely no building of unsightly industrial plant, like the incinerator, on areas of outstanding national beauty. We want proper food security planning, with contingency put in place for problems like our only ferry being out of action for months. We want an education system that does not fail so many children and teenagers. We want an end to tuition fees and the restoration of reasonable grants, so that university education again becomes accessible to the less well-off. We want better provision for nursery care and for the elderly. We want appropriate, affordable housing for all, and a gateway to achieving home ownership, which is almost unattainable for first-time buyers now because of cost. We have to stop expecting families with children to live in flats with no gardens or places to play outdoors, and build more suitable houses with gardens. We want no more tax hikes. I have a BSc Honours degree in Natural Sciences and have worked in IT for over 30 years. This is one thing that sets me apart from many other candidates. I understand scientific, technical and environmental issues. I would like to work in the health ministry, as I believe that is where I could make most difference. While watching a video of the recent senatorial hustings in St Martin, I was shocked to discover that a question on gigabit and the digital sector was mostly met with bafflement and waffle. Only 5 of the 18 candidates have reasonable comments to make. The digital industry is something that could make a massive difference to the wealth of our island. Yet here were some would-be senators telling us the competition was too strong to bother, or this fledgling industry was already over and had been declared a disaster. I attended a meeting with a group of developers known as Tech Tribes last month, came away inspired and encouraged. They have some excellent innovative ideas and an entrepreneurial spirit, but they fear a lack of state support will ultimately scupper their efforts. This is precisely the sort of area in which I could make a huge difference in the new Assembly. In the 21st century, it is not acceptable to have states members with no understanding of technology. In areas such as fintech and cryptocurrency, we could be a world leader with the right investment. I'm standing as a totally independent candidate who will listen to voters and act according to your best interests on all issues. I am not, nor will I ever be, a member of any political party or group, as I would not like to have that ability compromised. I love Jersey and St Saviour. I'm Jersey born and have lived in this parish my whole life, except for a short time studying and working in Bristol in the late 1970s and early 80s. I grew up in Grasset Park and was a scholarship student at Jersey College for Girls. I am the only candidate who actually lives in this district, which I know many of you agree is very important. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will give me one of your 2 votes next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll move to Kevin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Lewis, and I've been your deputy for the last 9 years. I'm proud to be a St Saviour resident with a 30-year working relationship with District 2, Sunnyglees. Education-wise, at present, I'm working with my department and the Education Department to finalise the school's action plan for safer routes to school for children and parents. In the parish, I also run the highly successful Jersey Film Festival, and with my wife Isabella in Howard Davis Park, raising much-needed funds for Jersey Hospice. I'm also a committee member for the Jersey Blind Society and the Parish Magazine, and I'm past chairman of the St Saviour Battle of Flowers Committee, and I always attend every parish meeting. I'm always out and about in the parish. I always maintain also the parish clock behind it there. Senior citizens, I've been working for some time on the introduction of the insurance scheme for people in latter years to ensure they won't be forced to sell their homes should one of the partners succumb to long-term illness. Besides being your deputy for the last 9 years, I'm also the Minister for Transport and Technical Services. In the parish, I've installed many new pavements and bus shelters, and the improvements to the bus service is ongoing. Immigration-wise, we will always need expert help, doctors and other specialists, but we must control immigration, as in my lifetime the population has doubled and the infrastructure is under pressure. We cannot build any more roads. There's nowhere to go. I firmly believe we should retrain our local population before bringing in more people from outside. It was my election pledge that I would rid the island of toxic ash. It took a long time and lots of permits and licences from DEFRA and other European authorities. But we're now there, and 2 trailer loads of toxic ash are now leaving the island every week. I still have the asbestos problem to solve, and solve it I will. If re-elected, I will once again put my name forward as Minister for Transport and Technical Services. This is a challenging role, and I take it very seriously. I always believe in leading from the front, as was demonstrated during the big storms earlier in the year. I think we should revitalise tourism, as I would like to see tourism once again being one of the major forces in Jersey, and making Jersey a desirable place to visit. I would also promote event-led tourism. Jersey Film Festival, Broncage, Air Display and other festivals should be promoted more off-island. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe in long speeches, so I'll hold it there and look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll move to Louise.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm really pleased to be standing as Deputy in St Saviour District 2. I'm going to explain a little bit about myself, why I'm standing, and some of the things I would work to achieve if I were elected. I was born in Jersey, I've lived here all my life, and I was educated at 3 schools, mainly in this district. I have a degree in psychology and sociology, and I'm a qualified teacher. My first class was in the primary school just down the road from here. I'm also the secretary for the Jersey division of the National Union of Teachers. So why am I standing? Well, this is my family district. My father's side of my family have lived here for generations on Langley Park and Langley Avenue, so it's a very special place for me in Jersey. And during my career as a teacher, I have got to know lots of families in this parish and in many others, and it's given me an insight into some of the wider issues affecting children and their families, including childcare, health, housing and employment. And I would really like to make a positive impact beyond education now on some of these issues. Sometimes it feels as though some of the people making the decisions about education don't really understand children, and I would really like to change that. I think our education system should be creative but rigorous. I think we should be nurturing each child's individual spark of brilliance and giving them skills for life. If we want to grow our economy, our education system needs to produce individuals that can innovate, work hard and contribute to our society. We need to give children a reason to stay in the island when they leave education. We need to give them a choice of employment options in a diverse economy. I truly believe that everyone is entitled to a good quality of life in Jersey. A secure job, appropriate housing, affordable healthy food, excellent healthcare, a carefully preserved natural environment on an island that is not overcrowded. Unfortunately, not everyone has all the things they need, and we are seeing unprecedented levels of mental health issues. I see this in the classroom. We have a child and adolescent mental health service that is not fit for purpose and is failing our children. Our teenagers feel so strongly that there is no future for them that they leave the island or turn to legal highs or suicide. My peers and colleagues, many of them are suffering from stress, anxiety and depression. This is one of the biggest causes of workplace absence, the biggest cause of workplace absence in Jersey. It puts a massive burden on our social services. Our ageing population dementia is set to double in the next 25 years. So we need to start taking these things seriously and reform our mental health service. We can do this by education. This could prevent many issues occurring in the first place. We should be cutting waiting times. At the moment it's 6 months to see someone for talking therapies. That's too long to wait. We need to pay more attention to our older population and help them to feel less isolated. So I'm sure you're wondering how I'm going to pay for all these things. I don't have a magic wand, and we are going to face some difficult times over the next few years financially. I think we need to look at it two ways, short term and long term. In the short term, I think we can certainly find efficiencies in lots of the state's departments. I think that there are layers of management there that don't need to be there, and we can cut costs there, certainly. And we also don't need to be paying thousands for expensive advisors. Long term, I'm sure you'll all agree with me that we need to diversify our economy. Now, the Innovation Fund has been giving large sums of money. I'm sure you all know about the film grant that never happened. Why don't we give smaller amounts of seed funding to local businesses? And I think we'd get much more value from the Innovation Fund that way. We need to support Digital Jersey. This could be a major source of income for Jersey in the future. And I think we can revive tourism. We have this staggeringly beautiful island, and we should be promoting things like event tourism, wedding tourism, academic tourism and gourmet tourism. I do believe that we can have a prosperous future in Jersey through some of these methods. Now, community, this is the most important thing for me. As a deputy, the first job that I will be doing is supporting you as parishioners. I have got the skills and personality to be understanding and approachable and to take action and help you on issues that matter to you. I'd like to see more events in the parish, a community support team, and bring people together more often. I know that the traffic burden needs to be eased around the parish, and I would work with the schools, residents and the parish cooperatively to find solutions here. I want to restrict further development and conserve green spaces. I very much hope you will give me the chance to make some of these improvements and preserve the things that are important to you. I promise to always do my best to represent you, to work hard, and I will always remember the reason why I started this journey, to build a better future for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. I should also mention that if you ask a question, it should be one that all three people can answer. In other words, it shouldn't be something about, would you, Mr. X or Miss X, would you explain why you did this or why you did that? It should be something all three can answer. Okay. Okay, so let's throw it open. This gentleman, can you give your name? And we will initially give priority, obviously, to the district voters, but if we run out of questions, we'll move. Okay, thanks.
I thought I'd get it going. Hi, Roy. Harry McRandall, I live in District 2. Lovely to see you all, and good to hear you. I've actually got a question just to check if you've been doing your homework. Last week, the figures on the size of our economy, the GVA figures were released. I would expect every candidate in this election to have read those GVA figures and to have understood them and to have a view on them as an elector, because I have to trust you with money. Can you tell me the following? Please, what are the 2012 and 2013 numbers and millions for public administration in that report? What is the public administration percentage of JVA for 2013 for Jersey? And do you think that percentage is acceptable? And why do you think that is acceptable if it is? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Harry. I hope everybody's recorded those questions. Very stiff test, and we'll start on this occasion with Maureen.
Thank you. I've read the GVA figures. I've looked at absolutely every aspect of where the money is coming in. I'm afraid I cannot recall what the public admin percentage is. I do apologise, which means that I'm at a loss to really answer any of your questions, I'm afraid. I note that a lot's been made of the fact that finances flatlining has not contributed, it's not grown in that time. Other industries have all outstripped it, in the sense that they've made bigger percentage increases. But still, when you look at the figures, the thing that nobody's saying is that finance way outweighs everything else put together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Not my room. Yes.
But we'll go to Kevin.
Hi, Harry. No, I do have the report at home. I have read it. I haven't committed everything to memory yet, but I know that finance has flatlined, but I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. But I do have the report at home, but I was up early this morning at 6:30 with floods over the seawall, so I don't have that with me.
Do you want to answer, Kevin, do you want to answer the other parts about the proportion to public administration? Or? No? Okay. Good. We'll go to Louise.
I'm terribly sorry I haven't memorised those figures either, but I do really look forward to, if I am elected, to getting stuck into those documents and contributing to debate around them.
Okay, I'll just quickly tell you, public administration went up from 7% to 9.5% last year in percentage. So if we can go for the second half of the question then, can I actually ask you what you think of an increase at a time when our taxes are under pressure, when we're evidently in a situation where we're starting to spend more than we earn, whether it's acceptable for the public administration element of our economy to be increasing?
Okay, we've got a supplementary there, but I think given that we had issues with the first part, I'd accept that. So, Kevin, what do you think of the increase in public administration when there appears to be a decline?
No, I think it's unacceptable. Obviously, we all know there will be belt tightening in the next 2 years to come. We won't be reducing services, but we will be cutting back on any unnecessary expenditure.
Okay, Louise.
I can only reiterate what Kevin says, really, and my point of view with public services is we shouldn't be cutting anything on the front line because they're crucial services, you know, that's why they're called public services, we need them. And like I said in my speech, I'd be cutting things behind the scenes rather than on the front line.
Maureen?
Thank you. I agree with both Kevin and Louise. This is totally unacceptable, and it's a shocking increase. The increase is actually nearly 40%. Why? We need to investigate and find out what the cause is. I agree with Louise that we suffer from far too many layers of management in the civil service. I see some of those people creating work by insisting on form filling by frontline staff, creating work that actually isn't necessary to pad out their own jobs that no longer really have a value. And a time for some time and motion studies is absolutely overdue.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Harry. And we'll take the next question. Don't be shy. The lady at the back. Bill, the lady just there.
Hello, Catherine McMinigal, and I live in St Saviour's. I just wanted to ask the panel what their views are on the proposed property tax and how will that affect the parish.
Okay, the lady is asking what are the panel's views on the proposed property tax and how will that affect the parish? So we'll go to Louise.
Hello, Catherine. Thank you for your question. It's a really good question, and lots of people on the doorstep are concerned about this. My personal view is that we should be keeping our parish system as much as possible. It's unique to Jersey. It's so special. The property tax, if it was centralised, then we would lose another element of our parish system. And this has already happened with the welfare system. And, I'm sure the constable will agree with me, it's not been in the best interest of parishioners. And actually, with the benefits system, it was supposed to save money by centralising it, and it hasn't. It's now costing us a lot more. So, no, I'm against centralisation of property tax, and I think we need to keep parish rates as they are and keep that and stop the erosion of our parish system. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Maureen?
Thank you. The property tax, it's a bit of a mess in the sense that what we were led to believe at the beginning as to what was intended for this tax has since emerged at some of the senatorial hustings as being, let's say, a little bit of mischief making on the part of some candidates. I absolutely believe in the parish system. I think the parishes run their finances very, very efficiently, and the states ought to learn some lessons from the parishes. I don't want to see the rates taken away from the parishes. There is more to the property tax than just the element of the rates, but in that portion, which I know is the bit that everybody is worried about, no, I absolutely defend the parish's right to continue as they are, and that is incidentally why I am going to support the constable staying in the States. This wasn't my original decision, but I now know we need the constables in to protect our position in the parish.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll go to Kevin.
Yes, Catherine, this is a proposed property tax. Nothing's gone through the States yet, but it's a poll tax by any other name, and I don't think the parishes will wear it for one moment. It will only increase rates, which is no good for anyone. So I'm all for keeping it well within the parish. The parish have run it successfully for many, many years, so I don't think there's any point in changing it.
Thank you, Kevin. I think we had a question in this side. Yep, Mr. Sheed.
Ray Sheed, St Saviour number 2. The question that, in a way, that I'd like to ask follows on from what Harry was saying. We have a high level of public expenditure. We don't have enough tax, and the government doesn't have enough income to cover the planned public expenditure. How do we plug the gap? That's my question.
Thank you, Ray. It overlaps with Harry, but it's a vitally important issue, and it's worth obviously going through again. So I think we move to Maureen for the first. Well, we have. My apologies. We move to Kevin.
Hi, Ray. No, basically, it will be cut back on the nice-to-haves, so there will be no frivolous spending of money. I'm determined, especially in my department, as not to lose any staff. But there will be cutbacks, that is for sure. We have to tighten our belts for, I'd say, at least 2 years. So I would like to see growth. I would like to see some of the shops in town, shop owners, shall we say, lower their rents to give small businesses a good fighting chance of getting up and running. We're doing our best to improve car parking and public transport. But I want to see business grow. But from a public services point of view, there will be cutbacks.
Thank you, Kevin. Louise.
Hello, thank you for your question. I think we have to strike a balance here between plugging the deficit short term and looking to the long-term prosperity of the island, because we don't want to stifle any innovation that might come out. So I would cut some areas. I don't want to see cuts to health or education for frontline services at all, because I don't think there's any fat to be cut there from those two departments. Other departments, and certainly, like I've said, the management layers in education and possibly in health, we could cut a lot from there. You know, teachers and healthcare staff, they're doing the jobs on the ground, and they actually know the improvements that need to be made. We don't need all these people consulting behind the scenes, and we don't need expensive advisors, because the people doing the job know how to improve the service. So I think actually we need to be doing more consultation with the workers in the departments on the ground and see what they do to save money, because I think very often they might have the answers. And you know, if we do have to raise taxes in the short term, because it might have to happen. I'm not going to be one of these people that says I promise not to raise any taxes, because we might have to. Like you said, this is the situation we've got. I don't believe that we should be raising GST. I don't believe we should be putting any more of a tax burden on middle earners. If we do have to raise taxes, then I believe it should be for the very high earners only, and not the middle or lower incomes.
Thank you, Louise. Morning.
I understand that all state departments have currently been told that they have to find 2% savings. 2% should be achievable within removing bureaucracy. There really should be no need within that margin to cut any frontline services at all. I think a considerable amount of work has already been done in reducing waste within state departments. At one time, I know Kevin Keane was involved in looking into a considerable amount of the minor areas in which things could be tightened up. Unfortunately, Kevin seems to have moved on to other things, which has been a bit of a loss. As regards taxing the very rich, I think we need to be very careful what we're talking about. It sounds fine on the face of it, but are we actually going to spend more money on a complicated tax system than we're going to make out of it? I think we're going down a very slippery slope. I think we're at danger of losing high flyers in this island, and I must say here and now, I absolutely oppose the progressive tax plans of the Reform Party.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. And we move to the next question. Gentleman at the back.
Good evening, panel. My name is David Smith. I'm St Saviour 2. I just want the panel's views on the reform of the state's government. And dare I say it, what would your views be if there was a proposition to remove deputies and have an island-wide vote, so everybody was senators?
Okay, thank you. So the candidates' views on reform of the states, and in particular on abolition of the role of the deputies in favour of an island-wide vote? Yeah, okay.
Thank you, David, for your question. That's a very interesting one, and to start with the abolishing the deputies. First of all, I don't really think that the state's members should be deciding what happens to their jobs. I think that quite a lot of time has been wasted talking about this, and I think that an independent panel needs to be set up to make some of these decisions. Personally, I do think the system that we've got isn't democratic at the moment. There are some pros and cons, because I do believe that the parish system needs to stay, so we need to preserve that whilst making things more democratic. I think it could work, having just senators on an island-wide mandate. It could work, but I'd like to, maybe see how that would impact on the parish system. I don't know if that would be better or worse. And would you have the constables in as well? I don't know. So yeah, it could work, but I don't think that, as a potential states member, I don't think I'd be the person to be making that decision. I think it needs to be taken out of the hands of the states members.
Thank you, Louise. Maureen?
I disagree with most of that, to be honest. I don't mind voting to throw deputies out of the states at all, because it's fairly obvious now that we have a general election, and if that decision is made, it will come at the end of a term, and then the next election will be in the new format. So I won't be voting myself out of a job. I actually would like to see the states be made up of all senators. This island is only 9 miles by 5, and while I keep being told it would be impractical, I'm sure there are ways around this, because they're telling me that maybe 45 positions of senator would be filled, we could have 80, 90, 100 candidates, and that would become unworkable. I think somehow it could be worked out. But it should be an all-Ireland vote for all seats. I think so much nonsense has been talked about reform locally, and the idea that states members can't be trusted to reform themselves, I think, is outrageous. It suggests that there are so many vested interests that states members are just untrustworthy people, which, if that were true, why are we all here tonight? I think we need, as I say, all senators, and keep the constables as a balance to have the links with the parishes. But most of the business done in the States is done for the benefit of the whole island. It's not as if we only work within our own parishes. What I do think for sure is that we shouldn't be handing this out to a Royal Commission. If we ask the UK to reform us, we're going down the slippery slope that we will start to lose more and more control over our autonomy, and eventually we will become a county of the UK. So I oppose the idea of a Royal Commission. What I suggest is that after this referendum, we take a moratorium of at least 2 years where we don't talk about reforming the states. We get on with things in the form we're in and actually do some real work. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Kevin?
Good evening, Mr. Powell. I think I'm going to disagree on this one. The deputies actually do a terrific amount of work in the parishes. It's always nice that you know your local deputy, that if you have a problem, you pick up the phone and they're there. But if we have super constituencies, I mean, it was mooted during the last referendum regarding the question, we'd have super constituencies, so St Saviour would have been joined with St Martin. That I think that would be the beginning of St Martin, wonderful parish, but it would be the beginning of the end of the parish system. It would be another creep there. That for instance, my district would then run from the slipway down at the Dyke right the way up to Roselle, which is a huge distance. But it's always nice that you know who your deputy is. You can pick up the phone. They can be with you within 10 minutes if there's something really bad happens. And I'd be very, very sad to lose that. But, I mean, super constituencies would be the next step up, but it does worry me.
Thank you, Kevin. And we'll have another question. Don't be shy. This gentleman, Mr. Ainouf.
Jeff Ainouf, Louise. We've heard a lot already about work in the States. Can the candidates please outline to me that although they're going to be a parish deputy, the most important decisions they're going to have to make are going to be in the States Chamber. We've had years of prevarication in the States Chamber of members who don't wish to make a decision. Can the members please outline to me what experience they have in making the important decisions that that they are going to be expected to have to make. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rayner wishes to know what experience the members have in making important decisions. I think I thought you were. I think it's you. Even I'm getting confused now.
You can answer, Roy, if you want.
I'd be delighted if Roy was to answer for me, but decision making, oh goodness, where do I start? I've been self-employed since 1986. I've run my own business in computing. I make every decision that is involved in that. I'm both worker and boss and bookkeeper, and that is quite hard. It's very it proves a loss of self-motivation on my part. I'm also, at the moment, the Honorary Secretary of the Jersey Pride Association. We're a committee who are going to be bringing you the first ever Jersey Pride event next year. That is a tremendous amount of work. It sounds reasonably easy throwing a party in a park, but it is a considerable amount more than that. I think, really, self-employed have more experience in making difficult decisions, and along the way I've worked for a lot of major players in the industry, big banks who have pretty much said they don't know what they're doing and they'd like me to decide how their software will work for them, meaning that I have a lot of control over how things like people's mortgages are calculated and interest applied, that sort of thing, usually with very, very little guidance. So I think I'm your person in terms of being able to make tough decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll move to Kevin.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, as the current Minister for Transport, I think I'm up for a challenge. It's everyone says it's toxic, don't touch it, but I grabbed it with both hands. And whilst I've been the Minister, I've actually negotiated new bus contracts, put up many, many new bus shelters, rebuilding the seawall, building a new sewerage plant. The toxic ash I mentioned earlier, that's now going off island, and there's no way I'm leaving any toxic ash or asbestos for our children further down the line. It's again, you know, I've helped out with the new village behind us here to make sure everything is as it should be. But I've a wealth of experience. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what's happening. I've been with Transport and Technical Services now for 6 years. And as I mentioned before, should I be re-elected, I will again put my name down for Transport and Technical Services, because I still have an enormous amount of work to do, both in the parish and island-wide. If you notice the new pathways going up the side here on St Saviour's Road, all that's been organised. The Wellington Hill, we've got the bus pull in there, bollards going up to stop people parking on the pavement. And as I mentioned previously, we have the Safer Routes to School plan, which I'm still working on. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll go to Louise.
Thank you, that's a really good question. Decisions, now I'm a teacher and I mainly teach early years, so 3 to 5 year olds. So my job involves me constantly making small decisions every moment of the day. You know, I have to be constantly assessing the safety of children. It's a big responsibility. I've got 30 little ones under my care while they're at school. And, you know, it's not just making decisions when I'm working. I have to decide in advance via my planning. I have to plan on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a termly basis. So short, medium and long-term planning. So I'm very used to making decisions. And more importantly, I'm used to making decisions about people. They're a lot smaller than you, but it's a similar kind of job. You know, I see the role of deputy actually as an extension of my role as a teacher. You know, I'm used to looking after people, and I would really like to look after you as your deputy. You know, I work for the National Union of Teachers, so I'm used to looking after another group of people, teachers. I'm used to supporting them and representing them, and I run the local division with the president, Rob ward, and we have to make decisions together. So as well as making decisions on my own, I'm used to making decisions as part of a team. Also, I have a degree in psychology and sociology, so this gives me an insight into human nature and society, so I feel that when I'm making my decisions, I can have people's best interests at heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Another question. All those things you've built up over the last 3 years that you were going to get at States members about, here's your chance, or prospective States members. Okay, this lady.
Rosemary Sheed, District 2. What do the candidates think of the decision of the House to, it seems to most people, almost completely ignore the results of the referendum? At the senatorial meeting, there was really quite a strong feeling that actually what people thought was just ignored, you know, and this is a feeling about a lot of politics.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sheed. What do the panel think about the fact that the states ignored the public's feelings re the referendum, and that they seem to do this in other ways as well? I think...
Yes, Mr. Sheed, absolutely. We have another referendum coming up shortly, but the last referendum was, I think it was marred because it was linked to super constituencies, because some people wanted the constables in the states, but they didn't want the super constituency, which we spoke about earlier. Any referendum has to be yes or no to be valid. So do you want the constables in the states, yes or no? And the next question is, should the constables be in as a matter of automatic right, yes or no? That's going to be the next question. Keep it simple so everybody clearly understands it.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Louise?
Hello, thank you for your question. I think it's appalling that the results of the referendum were ignored. I can see the reasons why. It was a flawed question. It wasn't very clear. People didn't understand, I think, some of the different options. But I do believe that if the states members weren't going to stick with the result, they should have set before the referendum happened, a minimum turnout level. So if it was going to be under 40%, we won't take the result. That should have been decided before if they were going to do that. Like Kevin said, this referendum that we're having now, the question again is flawed, and it's such a shame because it's not often we get to have a referendum on states reform. But the one thing I can say, that this referendum, whatever the result is, I will vote with the public, because I feel very strongly that we need to restore confidence in the States Assembly, and the only way to do that is by voting with the public when they've made a decision.
Thank you, Louise. We'll go to Maureen.
I cannot see any purpose whatsoever in having a referendum if you then ignore the result. It's rude, it's absolutely wrong that states members can think so little of public opinion that they would vote against it. Regardless of the fact that the questions were, the referendum was flawed. It was very badly put together. It was mathematically biased to give a result of B, whatever actually happened. Although, in fact, analysing those results, option B did win fair and square. I personally am going to take another look at who voted which way and use that to help me decide in the senatorials. I will absolutely abide by anything that the public decide in the referendum. Whether or not it goes with my view that the constables should stay in, I will vote with the public. I've said in my manifesto, in every issue, I will try to take soundings from you to find out what it is that you actually want me to do. It won't just be, if I get in, it won't just be the Maureen show, it'll be the St Saviour's number 2 opinion on matters. What did worry me is those people who are on the side of having thrown out the referendum decision wanted you to have a similarly flawed question this time around, where you had the constables are out, the senators are out, the deputies are this number, they've got to be reallocated in districts. That got thrown out, and there was an attempt by Senator Ossoff to have 4 simple questions. Do you want the senators? Do you want the deputies? Do you want the constables? Do you want the number of deputies reduced, I think was the 4th. That was straightforward, but that was thrown out. All of it was thrown out except the constables, which to my mind is very, very strange. Nevertheless, we're going to start with the constables. I firmly believe from speaking to people that most people want the constable to stay in the States, doing the job that they're doing now. I wonder if I could actually ask for a quick show of hands who was actually for the constable staying. And who's against? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maureen, and for running that little survey. That's unscheduled. Okay, let's move to another question. We'll even take repeat questions from Harry.
Not quite as difficult or specific this time, but you might want to think about this one. If you were looking at the political spectrum in terms of colour, where blue is dark blue is strongly conservative, and dark red is very well to the left, where would you put yourself on that spectrum?
Okay, very interesting question. Spectrum. Blue at one end equals conservative. Deep blue, extreme conservative. Red, Labour, left wing. Deep red, well, even maybe communism. Okay, who'd like to start? I think we go with Louise this time.
Okay, thank you. Interesting question. I've been asked this a lot, actually. As an independent candidate, people do try and put you in a box. I'm not standing with a party, and the reason why I'm not is because I don't feel there is a party that represents all of my views. And coming from the point of view as someone with a degree in psychology and sociology, human beings don't exist on a straight line. It's not that simple, and I would be very hard pressed to put myself on a line like that. I think, when there's issues being debated, I would take each issue individually. I'm not going to be sticking with any particular point of view. So I wouldn't put myself on that spectrum at all, actually.
Okay, thank you, Louise. We'll go to Maureen.
It's the only spectrum you can put yourself on, really. I don't like this question. I don't like being pigeonholed. My colour is purple. And in part, it's because I err towards the left slightly, shall we say, powder pink, for social policies, but very slightly to the right when it comes to the economy and growing businesses. I must admit, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm a little bit baffled that Louise is saying there is no party that represents her, because she signed the nomination papers of Sam Mesick and Anne Southern of the Reform Party, and I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. Maureen, could you keep slightly away from the microphone? So there's a bit of a boom going on. That's okay. Kevin.
Well done, Harry. Good question. Precise and concise. That's what I like. I've always believed in fair day's pay for fair day's work. On the political spectrum, I think I would describe myself as slightly right of centre, but with a social conscience tucked in there somewhere.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. We're getting some quite good questions. It's a bit hard to get them, but we are definitely getting them. So we need more. Who will be the next? This lady again. Good.
Can the panel tell me how they can encourage younger people to turn out to vote and come to these sort of hustings?
Okay, how can we encourage younger people to vote and indeed to come to events like these hustings?
This one is tricky. I actually have quite a good answer for the question, how can we get people generally more involved? But young people specifically is troublesome. I was hoping that I would be invited to some sort of youth hustings, and no invitation materialised. I even contacted the youth service to ask what was happening, because I know they've taken place in St Brelade's, but I was told that all the hustings that have happened have been actually activated by the young people themselves. And actually, St Saviour isn't a very good place in any case, because apart from Grand Vaux, which is right at the very north end of this district, there is no youth club that serves the area. The education department I had expected to get in touch with me to maybe address sixth formers, and that hasn't happened. With the wisdom of hindsight, I should have been more proactive at the beginning and done something, but I had understood that education would take this ball and run with it, so something has gone very wrong in my view. As to the general question about voting, one thing that I've had said to me quite a few times when I ask people why they're not on the electoral roll is they would like to vote, but they're very, very worried about having to do jury service. And the fact that jury service is connected with the enfranchisement form is what stops them signing. They believe that if they don't register to vote, they can't be called for jury duty. I think if we divorce jury service totally out of the electoral system and connect it perhaps to income tax registration, so that everybody who is registered in the island to pay tax is on the list, then more people will say, OK, I've got absolutely nothing to lose, at least, by being on the electoral roll, and go ahead and do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll ask Kevin.
Young people, I think young people have been given mixed messages, because how old you have to be to buy cigarettes or go into a pub, and if you've got to be 18, but yet 16 to vote. So we really have to get sort of young people on board. At the back here we have a cameraman tonight filming all the proceedings, and that will be on the internet tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, and which I think is absolutely wonderful, and young people can get a taste for that. Online voting may come, but maybe not in the near future. In the States, we have, apart from the States members, we have the Youth Parliament every year, and it's very, very well attended. And we have pupils from our local schools here, we're from De La Salle, JCG, Vic College, and these young people ask very, very deep, probing questions. I should know, I've been on the end of it. And they're very intelligent questions, and I think a lot of people that are in the Youth Parliament today will be the deputies and senators of tomorrow. But how to encourage them to come along, maybe come along with mum and dad, but I think some young people can find politics quite boring, so it's making it possibly more entertaining. And we do have, 3 youth clubs in the parish, which are sponsored by the parish, and they're very, very well attended.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll move to Louise.
Thank you. That's a really good question. So half the battle of getting people interested in politics is waking them up to the fact that it's about their lives. And the earlier we can do this, the better. And it's already happening in primary schools. Every Year 5 child will have a visit to the States Assembly. And from the children that I know that have been on these visits, it really does get them fired up and interested in politics. But I think where this falls down is the secondary schools, and there's not enough involvement in the secondary schools. And I think perhaps that's something that deputies can do, is go into the secondary schools more often and get to know the students there. I also think there's a really simple solution that we could have a polling station up at Highlands for one day, like the pre-polling station we've got at St Paul's Centre. Take the voting to where the young people are, and they'll be more likely to vote. I also, like Kevin was talking about the Youth Parliament, I think that's brilliant, but it needs to meet more regularly, and they need to be linked more closely with the schools and the school councils. School councils, I'm not sure if you know what they are, but they're a smaller version of the States Assembly, as we like to tell the children. So each class elects their own representative, and then there's a council that speaks with the head teacher. And most primary schools have that now, and I think they're in some secondaries, so I think we could do more with the youth parliament there. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise, and we'll move to the next question. This lady.
Doreen Leroy. I live at Chardon-upon-Mere. I'd like to know what the panel think in view of the housing situation about property owners who don't live in their property and allow them to deteriorate.
Okay, what do the panel think of property owners who don't live in their property and allow those properties to deteriorate? I think, Kevin, we start with you.
Well, obviously, we've all been canvassing recently, and I was quite shocked to see the amount of empty properties in the district, let alone the island. And I think people should be encouraged to do them up and let them. There's young people out there crying out for decent accommodation, many young couples, and it's criminal to see these buildings just left empty. And I think pressure should be brought to bear to do these properties up and to let them, or even sell them on.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll move to Louise.
Thank you for your question. It's not something I've ever thought about before, really. I think one idea might be that the states of Jersey, well, it's Andean Homes now, isn't it? They could refurbish the properties and then have a certain proportion of the rent going to the people that have refurbished it and some to the owners. You know, that might be one way of solving some of our housing problems, actually. So that's a really good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Maureen?
I think you have to ask yourself the question, what is the reason that the property is unoccupied for a period of time? And not to prejudge what's going on, because you may not know the circumstances behind it. Certainly the states can't just take over properties that are not being lived in. They're almost certainly owned by somebody. But maybe if you've noticed that a property around you is left vacant, maybe you might inquire as to what the problem is with the people. I think we could all be better neighbours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. And let's keep going. Gentleman in the front row.
Thank you. What's the panel view on...
Sorry,
oh, it's Renee Tudyk, Wellington Road. Our main telecom supplier, Jersey Telecom, its pricing policy for broadband is nearly 40% more expensive than its competition, Newtel or Shaw. And it's the only company that puts a cap limit on its usage. And it's just so low, it's going to be pricing itself out of the market very shortly. I think when there's a groundswell of view, certainly from the youth that's coming up, that it's so expensive, when the contracts end, they're going to be changing.
Okay, this gentleman is asking what are the panel's views about the very expensive charges of JT Rebroadband, which he maintains are 40% higher than that of the nearest competitor. And it could well lead to a lot of customers, particularly youngsters, leaving and going to the other operators. I think it's Louise who kicked off.
Okay, thank you. I've actually had this issue myself at home. My partner and I were with Jersey Telecoms, and we had unlimited usage, and then all of a sudden they changed the contract, and you know that I don't think that's good business sense for a start. They're going to lose a lot of customers that way. We did stick with them because we've tried to be loyal to Jersey Telecoms, loyal customers, but unfortunately the first month that we had a bill, it was so huge we had to switch, and we don't use a lot. You know, we're pretty average users, so we've had to move to shore. And we didn't want to do that because, like I said, we did want to remain loyal to Jersey Telecoms. But it's just that there isn't any contest really because the competition is so much cheaper. And I think you're absolutely right. They're pricing themselves out of the market, and something needs to change there.
Thank you, Louise. We'll move to Maureen.
Thank you. This is a tricky one because JT is actually a private company. It's entirely separate from the States now, since it became divorced from the Post Office, and to the best of my knowledge, there are no States members on the board. Why does a private business behave so uncompetitively? It's really hard to guess. I know it's true. I didn't like the telecoms set up from day one, and many years ago, my husband and I decided to opt to go to Newtel. And I believe our bill is a third of what telecom customers pay for unlimited use. Really, I think I have to leave it there because speculating on private businesses is a bit too difficult, really. I don't know, maybe Kevin might know a little more about the reasons, but... I thought it was actually still something to do with this. Absolutely not. Oh, is it? I would need to look into that. My understanding was they had nothing to do with the day-to-day running or decisions of that nature. I'll hand it to Kevin, he doubtless knows.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. We'll move to Kevin.
Yes, basically it is predominantly owned by the states of Jersey, and the Treasury Minister is the representative shareholder. Obviously, going around the district as we have been, we know about the gigabyte rollout that Telecoms is investing heavily in, but I, like many people, probably quite a few people in this room as well tonight, have a huge coil of fibre optic cable hanging on the wall of the house, and it's been there for several months now. I think about 8 months that we've had it. So they really need to get into gear, and it's quite disappointing when obviously we have the national television and we see how little they're paying in the UK for broadband and other services, and yet we have to pay so much here. So I know telecoms have made considerable investments, but it is something they really need to get a grip on.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, we'll move to another question. You must, I'm sure when you read the paper or when you listen to the radio, there must be things that you say, if only I could put my views across, so this is your chance. Aha!
I've noticed that in all the manifestos you talk about the environment and development, and in this area there's been a lot of development, and they're talking about developing on Gas Place. How does the panel feel about that?
Okay, the lady's saying there's been a lot of development in this area, and there's now also talk of developing Gas Place, which is obviously near, but it's technically in St Helier. So, what do the panel think about that? I think we start with Maureen, yes.
I don't agree with the development on Gas Place. I think that should be extended to make the park bigger. There are better places to put housing. I think if Gas Place was going to be used for housing, that decision should have been made right at the beginning, but the decision was made to make it a park, and that idea should be followed through. More than anything else, I'm alarmed that once again we're talking about building flats. It isn't flats that we need, it's homes for families with children. We are overdeveloping the suburban parishes too much. St Saviour has had absolutely its fill of development. St Clement's likewise. We need to be talking about moving a little further north if any further development is needed. I would certainly oppose anything in this district that didn't have a really, really pressing need to put it here. I understand, for example, about Langtry Gardens, that the positioning is good, that we need that sort of accommodation. But anything else in this area, absolutely not.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll move to Kevin.
Thank you, Roy. Gas Place. I've seen the plans for Gas Place, and it is actually quite scary. At some points, it's 5 stories high, and it's quite an intensive development. At the moment, there is insufficient parking there, and as it's so close to our district, that will impact on us. So that's, I think, will be sent back to the drawing board to have another look at. If we're talking about development in general, the town park is a wonderful park and a great amenity for the people of St Helier, but we lost, I think, about 750 car parking spaces there. And that has also impacted on St Saviour, because we have people going into town to work in the daytime, and they're parking in the suburbs, which is us. They're parking up at Croix Bernard, up the road. They're parking wherever they can on private estates, on public estates. And it's great inconvenience to the householders there. We have parking around the side here. It's just phenomenal that they're parking everywhere. Langtry Gardens, we always knew that that was going to happen, but we've tried to sort of minimise any disruption as we can. But I'm against any further development in the parish, apart from Jardin de Bout, which we have opposite, and with the exception of Government House behind yourselves there, I think we have about 3 fields left in the district of Sully-Grise. 3 fields, that's it. So there's nowhere else to build. We were under pressure at one point for the old Dautre school site, but I'm glad that that's now going to be kept within education. But definitely no more development in Sully-Grise.
Thank you, Kevin. Louise?
Thank you for the question. I'm totally against building any more little rabbit hutches for humans to live in. I think it's totally not what people need for their well-being and quality of life. If we do need to build more homes, they should be appropriately sized. But I think this all links into population again. We need to put controls on our population growth so that we don't need to keep building more houses. And I believe we're near capacity, really, with the numbers of people in our island. If there has to be something built on that Gas Place site, I'd like to see underground parking with an extension to the town park on top. I think that would give more quality of life to the local residents.
Thank you, Louise. So any final questions? Something that's really burning you up, something that you'll go away and you'll curse yourself that you never asked about it tonight. Okay, any final? Harry's still... Okay, no, I just want to make sure that everybody feels they've had all the issues they want ventilated, and there's nothing that's really burning them up that they need to get answers about. Okay, well, that being the case, as I said earlier, what we'll do now is we'll get each candidate to say why they're running and why they think they're the person you should vote for. So maybe, would Louise like to start? Well, yeah, we can start. Okay, good thing.
Why not? Hello, my name is Kevin Lewis. I'm the deputy for Sully-Grise at the moment. I promise more of the same, basically. I think I stand by my record that I believe in looking after parishioners personally. Many people know me in the parish and feel very comfortable ringing me with any problems they have. As I've mentioned, if re-elected, I will stand again for Transport and Technical Services. which is a role that is extremely challenging, but I feel capable of doing. I've got much more work to do. So I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for stepping into the breach. I was actually going to reverse what had happened at the opening of the meeting, but Louise thought too quickly for me there. So we'll now move to Louise.
Okay. I just want to briefly come back on something that Maureen said before about the Reform Party. Now, I'm 100% independent. I'm not used to having my integrity questioned as a teacher, but I guess it's something I'll have to get used to in politics. And I hope that people will see that I'm genuine. I do know one or two members of the Reform Party, and Anne Southern, you know, I work with her, she's a teacher as well, so it would have been churlish of me not to sign that form when she asked me. It doesn't mean I support the whole party, and I don't support, you know, all of their policies. There's lots of other people in the States Assembly that I would support if they'd asked me. And my politics, or the way that I'm going to conduct myself, I'm going to be basing that on Deputy Valois' way that she does business, because I think that she's been truly independent, fair-minded, and that's how I'd like to be. And rather than making enemies, I'd like to make friends in politics, because I think that's how you get things done. So I do hope that you'll vote for me and give me a chance to represent you. I'd really like to make a difference in this parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. And last but not least, we'll move to Maureen.
Thank you. I'm really sorry, Louise. I wasn't suggesting anything about your integrity. I just wanted the matter cleared up because of how it appeared to me. I couldn't reconcile the two facts. It didn't seem to make much sense, but I understand now. I think politics is something which is a good way of giving something back when you've spent a good deal of time getting experience of life, of working, of the general hard knocks that life throws at you. And to that extent, I think I'm now the perfect age to be entering the States. I'm 54. Interestingly, Andrew Marr said today he didn't think politics was something for the under 40s at all. It was a better idea to go away, get some proper experience under your belt, and then come back later. I'm sorry, Louise, that isn't aimed directly at you. But this was my life plan. I was a strange child. I was very interested in politics from very young. And I knew better. I always knew what states members ought to be doing, and I used to get very angry about it. But despite the temptation to stand at 20, I knew very well that that would be a mistake. I've held it off till now. I can't hold it off any longer. I would really like a try at making the difference, and I hope you'll consider voting for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maureen, and thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Louise. I'd like to thank the candidates on your behalf for taking part tonight. It's quite nerve-wracking if you're not used to politics, if you're not used to public speaking, and I think we've had some excellent answers, clear answers, and people have stepped up to the plate. So thank you, all three of you. And I'm sure we know all three cannot win, but I'm sure we wish everybody success. I would like to ask all of you to vote. I'm sure you will, because you wouldn't be at this meeting if you weren't not intending to, because we do pick that feeling up. I'd like to thank Madame Untitled for attending. She could have been at Plat Douay tonight, but she chose to be here. And I'd like to thank Bernie for not having to keep us in order. Everybody's been remarkably well behaved, maybe too well behaved. We'll have to look into that. So thank you, but most of all, thank you for coming, and I hope this has been useful, and we look forward to seeing you at the polling booths.
And may I, Roy, on behalf of the candidates, thank you for your sterling chairmanship tonight. Thank you very much indeed.